Thank you, Brian. All right. Yeah. Director Wray, as the Assistant Director of the Training Division, I certify to you that all present members of National Academy Session 276 have met or exceeded all requirements for graduation. Ladies and gentlemen, would you all please join me in welcoming FBI Director Christopher Wray.
Well, thanks, Don. Welcome, everybody. It's great to be here to mark this occasion with you all. I'd like to send a special welcome to Attorney General Barr, who we'll hear from in a moment. And I want to thank the families here today. Everybody in this room knows firsthand that our families are the support system that really makes law enforcement work. You help us make it through every day, and you're home waiting for us when we come back at night. And thank you for being here and for all of your sacrifices and support. And to the members of the 276th, you made it, even though it sounded like it felt like 10 years instead of 10 weeks. You've joined the ranks of a whole lot of distinguished graduates who came before you. You know, back in 1935, when the FBI Police Training School opened its doors to the first 23 students, I'm pretty sure that no one imagined we'd all be here later watching our 276th graduation. And while each session has been different in its own way, there is one question that comes up almost every single time. Is there anyone here who can translate for the foreign students, especially those from places like Louisiana and Mississippi and Tennessee and Maine? Speaking of foreign students, I especially want to thank our international colleagues for being here. This session, session 276, had 35 international students, which is the most we've ever had in a single session. So thank you, all of you, for bringing your invaluable perspectives to the National Academy and for adding so much to this experience, both personally and professionally. 10 weeks ago, all of you came to Quantico from places as different and far-flung as Bahrain and Boise and Helsinki and Houston. And you arrived here mostly as strangers, but you leave today as lifelong friends. And those friendships mean that you can pick up the phone day or night, just about anywhere around the world, and find someone who will stand beside you in the toughest of circumstances or provide some key insight that you might not otherwise have considered. And forging those friendships, those partnerships, is what the National Academy does best. As the world becomes smaller and the perils loom larger, we've learned that a threat to one of us is often a threat to all of us. And we've learned that working together isn't just the only option, it's really the best option. For more than 80 years, this program has served as a bridge that connects state and local law enforcement to international law enforcement. And today you join the ranks of more than 50,000 graduates from more than 170 countries. To put that in perspective, there are tens of thousands of those yellow bricks on desks and bookcases all across the country and all around the world. Tens of thousands of bricks that have helped us pave the way for global law enforcement cooperation. That cooperation begins here, but it can't end here. Your bricks don't just represent a challenge. In many ways, they themselves are a challenge to build on this foundation after you leave the academy, a challenge to stay in touch, and to continue helping each other throughout the rest of your careers. So this session is ending, but the work, your work, is far from done. It's up to you now to ensure that the network you see in this auditorium grows larger and stronger, and that yellow brick road becomes longer and wider. We all know your jobs are far from easy, but today you have more than 250 new partners standing by ready to help you in any way they can. And that bond of trust and teamwork represents the best of who we are as a profession and what we can accomplish when we all work together. According to our FBI records, when Bill Barr served as our nation's 77th Attorney General back in the 90s, he never had the chance to attend a graduation here at the FBI Academy. So today, during his tenure as our 85th Attorney General, it's a great honor for us to welcome him to Quantico for a National Academy graduation. Last month, you noted that during your first tenure as AG, forging a strong relationship with our state and local partners was essential to achieving our common mission. And as I'm confident that you've discovered that since coming back to DOJ, that you now see that the scope and range of today's threats make your statement truer than ever. And there's no better example of our commitment to forging strong partnerships than the National Academy, where we train some of the finest law enforcement officers and leaders from here at home and around the world. To the outstanding graduates of the 276, thank you again for being a part of the National Academy, for your support of the FBI, and for all you do and will do for law enforcement. And now, please join me in extending a very warm welcome to my friend, the Attorney General of the United States, Bill Barr.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Chris, for your introduction and for your outstanding leadership of the world's preeminent investigative agency. As Chris said, and as most of you know, I'm a two-time offender. This is my second stint as Attorney General. My arrival this time was a little bit more eventful than I recall it being the last time. As we've been watching the coverage of June 6, 1944 D-Day, I had the thought that my arrival this time felt a little bit, I think, like jumping into Sainte-Mère-Église on the morning of June 5th, trying to figure out where you could land without getting shot. But it was a delight after I arrived to find the FBI in such good hands and to find such a great partners in Chris and his leadership team at the Bureau. The last time I was in the Department of Justice, I'd have to say that it was the greatest pleasure and pride for me was in fact the association with the FBI and the great men and women in our law enforcement community. And people ask me today, do I regret having come into the government? And the answer is a resounding no. And it's a no because once again I have the opportunity to work with the outstanding men and women of the Bureau and our nation's law enforcement leaders. It's been 25 years since I've been at Quantico. I used to come here a lot when I was a Deputy Attorney General and Attorney General. My children at that time, all three girls, were 7 to 13 years old, and they used to like to come down for lead therapy. The HRT took them under their wing, and they had the opportunity to learn how to shoot sniper rifles, and in those days MP5s and so forth, just little kids, and it was a delight. Now they went to this Catholic girls' school, convent school, and they used to show up on Monday morning very proud of the very tight grouping around the headshots that they had achieved with the MP5s, and the nuns who, you know, let's be honest, they were a little liberal in those days. You know, they said, very nice girls, you know, very nice girls. Not surprisingly, all three of them ended up serving in U.S. attorneys' offices. People also ask me, what's the big difference between 28 years ago and today? And, you know, I've thought, well, you know, it could be the internet, it could be cell phones, it could be a lot of different things, but I think I'd sum up the biggest difference in 2 words: challenge coins. They weren't around, and you know, when I first arrived and people started shaking my hand and putting these things in my hand, I go, you know, what is this all It's now a great tradition, but it poses a significant problem for someone like me, because when I am at events with a lot of challenge coins being put in my hand, I generally put them in my pocket. And when you are like me and have a disturbing differential between your waistline and your hip line, your pants start falling down at these events. So I don't go to them anymore unless I'm wearing suspenders. Above all today, what I'd like to do, and it's an honor to be here at this graduation, and it's my first one, and I'd like to graduate the 256 graduates of the 276th session of the FBI's National Academy. And I want to congratulate the families of today's graduates. It's difficult to be a law enforcement family. You shoulder the stresses and the challenges involved in your loved one's work, and you make the sacrifice too. And so I want to thank all of you for being here. Our graduates, as you all know, today come from a wide variety of backgrounds, 49 states in the District of Columbia and a record high 35 foreign nations. But you share a common mission and a record of personal excellence. Admission to the National Academy is highly competitive and selective, and you represent the very best of the leadership of the ranks of law enforcement in this country and around the world. One thing that's manifest to me, just coming in after 28 years, is the pride we can take in law enforcement's high level of professionalism, a professionalism that has been achieved over the past decades, and you exemplify that by focusing on training, technology, best practices, and above all, cooperation. Law enforcement in the United States and among our allies has reached new levels of excellence and allowed us to achieve historic reductions in crime. Of course, we're always striving to reach even greater heights, and the National Academy remains at the very center of this effort. I think you all know that the experience here is not all about learning from your instructors. It's also about learning from each other and building the relationships and trust that is so essential for our collective action. We're building a national and worldwide network of law enforcement excellence, a network that through cooperation allows us to meet the great challenges we all face. I've always believed that none of us can succeed in our responsibilities without cooperation. And in 1992, when I last served, violent crime was at its highest rate in our nation's history. It had trebled over the preceding 30 years. And my priority was addressing this by building a tight partnership with our state and local colleagues. And over the past 3 decades, violent crime has now been halved. Fortunately, 92 was the peak, and it has decreased from then on. And it has been cooperation and joint action that has allowed us to do this. At that time, I had an office that focused exclusively on our relationships with state and local law enforcement. And I was disappointed when I returned to find that that office no longer existed. But last month, during Police Week, I ordered it to be reestablished, and it has just been stood up this week with a number of full-time professionals who will focus exclusively on communications and cooperation, building cooperation with our state and local partners. Also 30 years ago, we stood up the Office of International Affairs in the Office of the Attorney General, and we expanded the FBI's LEGAT program, and we built up a web of bilateral and multilateral agreements to facilitate our cooperation on international law enforcement matters, including drug trafficking and in those days the emerging scourge of terrorism. And I learned firsthand just how valuable it is to have law enforcement allies around the world. One of the formative experiences in my life was dealing with the Pan Am 103 bombing. And in that investigation, we worked closely with the Strathclyde police on one of the most complex and exhaustive investigations in history. And the Scottish police, along with the FBI, conducted a brilliant and unrelated. The crime scene was 845 square miles, and Scottish authorities searched it inch by inch, month after month, through fields, forests, lakes, and towns. And this painstaking search led to the key evidence, which was a fragment of a board the size of a fingernail. It was that evidence that ultimately led us to the perpetrators. It was in those days, it was an unprecedented cooperative effort involving not just the United States, the FBI, and the UK, but many other countries as well. And it left a deep impression on the Department of Justice and on me personally. Over the years, as Director Wray has just mentioned, this international cooperation has become imperative. Let me read you this quaint remark written over 100 years ago by the famous economist John Maynard Keynes. This was written before the First World War. He says, "The inhabitants of London could order by telephone, sipping his morning tea in bed, the various products of the whole earth in such quantity as he might see fit, and reasonably expect their early delivery upon his doorstep. He could at the same moment and by the same means adventure his wealth in the natural resources and the new enterprises of any quarter of the world without exertion or even trouble in their prospective fruits and advantages." Little could Keynes have imagined the internet age, the interconnected digital world of today, and the rapid transportation and the reduction of transportation and communication costs. This all bears directly on the work of law enforcement. Just as it's never been easier for us to work together, it's never been easier for criminals to work together. In a matter of seconds, a terrorist in India can communicate with a sympathizer in Indiana. A gang leader in El Salvador can order a killing in Boston. Funds can be moved with a click of a mouse. The gravest threats to society today, terrorism, drug trafficking, human trafficking, cyber threats, and even elder fraud, are increasingly national and even international in scope. This makes cooperation more important than ever. And it's why the relationship and the shared understanding and the trust that are built here at the National Academy are also more important than ever. By building this global network of excellence in law enforcement, we all benefit. And so, to today's graduates, thank you for your willingness to serve your communities, your commitment to this rigorous training, and your partnership with us at the FBI and the Department of Justice. We all serve on the same team. We stand for justice, and we stand for public safety. And as we return to work today, we will all press on together. And rest assured, as Attorney General Sessions, my predecessor, frequently said, we have your back and you have our thanks. Thank you very much.